Welcome, beautiful people, to Inner Growth Lounge, where we talk about leadership and self discovery. And today I have a fairy like guest that I adore, Marie Ferguson. Welcome. Marie is a feminine embodiment, breathwork, inner child healing, understanding energy, and rites of passage for our girls. I absolutely love this. I'm also very passionate about, the next generations. So I welcome you with a lot of love and many questions I want to ask you.
Oh, thank you, Christiana. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad we could find a time to connect all the way across the world. So excited to be here.
You're in beautiful Australia. Where are you exactly in Australia?
I'm in Brisbane in Australia, in Queensland. So it's a nice afternoon here where we are. But we are still in summer, so it's very hot over here. So I'm
Oh, I
excited
can
to.
imagine. We are also used to that because we don't have a lot of winter here either. So it's nice.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your work. I know that your work is very transformative and you create the space for connection and emotional growth for mothers and daughters. And this I absolutely love. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you exactly do?
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm a feminine embodiment coach, and to really hone in on what embodiment is, it's that practice of combining mind and body and spirit and actually living that in your daily life and being able to work with women and mums either in groups of circles or with teens and young people. I'm also still an educator, so I still go in and out of schools. As part of some of the work that I do. So being able to work with young people and help them with, their emotional regulation, with well-being, also those creative practices. So with the feminine side, when we look at our energy, the feminine is, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, we have this energy like feminine and masculine, but it's the nurturing side, it's the creative side, it's the intuitive parts of us that can be very emotional as well. And our masculine is the taking that aligned action, doing the things, having that protective mechanism as well, and being able to, balance and harmonize those parts of ourselves and our systems through the breath, through the body, through different practices that allow us to then be more present in our lives.
So,
Oh, Christiana, sorry.
yeah. So, what got you here? I mean, this is something very special to focus on. And I would like to know what was the reason that you turned to that?
Yeah. Well, being a teacher, working 9 till 7 p.m. sometimes, and being an arts teacher. So I was a dance drama teacher. So really being in my body and working creatively with young people, creating musicals, dance programs, as well as being in the classroom and leading in a middle leadership role. I ended up in burnout and I ended up in um, a lot of anxiety and depression after experiencing miscarriage about 3 years ago. And so my body was, it felt like it was out of my control what was happening to me. And at that time, my body was so drained. It did experience a lot of trauma and grief and loss that I thought I had prepared for, and I went back to work too soon and I wasn't listening to my body. I kept pushing and pushing, and my whole nervous system pretty much crashed.
Mm.
And I came into a very dark place where I was numb to everything, and the voices in my head and the thoughts that I was feeling, and my body was so sick because I didn't allow her enough time to rest and recuperate and to grieve. And so that led me down this path of self-love and learning to embrace my body again, because every time I went, and I'm going to talk about periods and things like that, every time I went to the toilet, when it came to that time of the month, I would say to myself, you're such a disappointment. You're broken. You cannot be a mother. You can't even carry a baby. Those things, were in my mind. And even though I've got one beautiful, healthy daughter, had no, issues with, these were the thoughts that I was having. And I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't taking care of my body. And I was beating up on myself so much. And my body just crashed and I felt numb to everything.
I have been there. I can understand exactly what you're referring to, because not only I'm burnt out, but it took me around 3.5 years to have my first daughter. So I know how it feels, and it's good that you're mentioning it, because there are many women in that position that they want to have a child, and then we are so aggressive towards our body and ourselves because we cannot. But it doesn't work like that. I mean, I got pregnant the minute that I said, I'm not going to bother anymore. When I said I'm not going to bother anymore, and then I got pregnant, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But the burnout, I understand also how it feels to feel like your body is not connected to your mind. It's a very, very weird feeling.
Yeah.
So how do you go about it? Because I know that you do a lot of breath work. So why is it important to come back to the breath?
Oh, goodness. Well, breath is life, right? Without the breath, we can't live. We can't pump our beautiful hearts. We can't bring that oxygen to our brains to function our whole system. And so, yes, we got to eat and nourish, but without the breath, we can't live. And this stillness that we hear a lot of philosophical teachers, a lot of gurus, a lot of spiritual leaders that come back to that stillness and pause and listening to your own breath, to your heart, coming back to your body is so powerful. And this contemporary world we live in is so fast-paced, and a lot of us get anxious because we're not breathing properly. We're like thinking too much. We're very much in our masculine without the balance of understanding our emotions, and we suppress. And that's what I was doing. I was suppressing and not feeling, or thinking I was feeling the things and doing, but there was so much deep inner work that needed to come out. And a lot of it came back to stillness and actually stopping. I'd never stopped. I went from high school to university. I did a double degree. I did more than what the average person would do because, I'm a Virgo. There is that ambitious side of me, but it was go, go, go. And even in my young career as a teacher, I would put my hand up for everything. I can do that. And it was beautiful. But my husband suffered, in that time. He got the tired me. He got the burnt out me. He got the parts of myself that were, not magnetic and not in union and collaboration with our lives. And so a lot of that coming back to stopping, reassessing what my body was actually communicating to me, and to allow that time in nature, to allow that time to deeply rest, because that deep rest, we don't do it enough because, again, we're doing too much or thinking too much. So it was a lot of that.
I mean, even the society, right? It's like, because I am in this process as well in stopping, but for many years I have been embracing my non-stop. It was like, oh wow, I can do all these things, and and I was embracing it. And I came to the point when I understood what I was doing after I burned out. I was like, what are you doing? This is not life. You have been given the wrong direction. But even my mom still says, oh, I do a million things during the day and I enjoy it. And I'm like, don't say that. At least don't say it. But she thinks that she's enjoying it, like I did as well. So how do you get to that space? Because it's not easy when you constantly run and embrace all these things to stop. So how do you get about that?
Well, number one, if you don't listen to your body will make you stop. And that's where the point that I got to. So just to before you don't even have to get to where we went to, you know, if you allow yourself time to either get up 5-10 minutes earlier before the kids wake up or before your day gets busy, and allow yourself to sit with your cup of coffee or tea, or to go out into nature, or even just spend 5 minutes to just deeply breathe and set your intentions, bring in gratitude for the day, or it could be before bedtime, you know,
Mm,
but allowing yourself to devote time just for you know, is very important. And it can start with just those baby steps. And
mm,
I journaled a lot, you know, I'm very creative, but I stopped journaling for myself. And being able to write down how I was feeling and be able to then understand my emotional state, and to, you know, I did seek a psychologist, and I had a wonderful psychologist that, you know, helped me understand my emotional stories, you know,
mm,
knowing that what I was feeling, whether it was frustration or anger, was okay and acceptable, and not to diminish those feelings, and being able to track that, like, and even writing down, like, I feel really frustrated at blah, 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 or just getting out all the stuff that you're holding on to. And
mm.
I found burning it also really powerful. Like, I would write down all the things that I was frustrated about, all the things that I wanted to let go of, and I just let the yuckiness out. I let the ick out, and I was like, you know, I even wrote words like, I hate this and this, and I really want to let go of the jealousy, or like when I was experiencing the miscarriages and going through that, I became very jealous of women that were pregnant, and this is not a normal trait. And that jealousy of, like, why do they get to do that and I can't, you know? And that's not me, but that was a very normal and valid feeling to experience, considering the trauma I went through. And
Exactly.
to, yeah, to be able to break that down, write it down, to take that time for yourself to understand your emotions and let it out, I think is really, really important.
Mm. It's amazing how many emotions we have and how many little few words we use to express those emotions. It's like we have 6 words and
Yeah.
we're going about all that, and we don't really pay attention to see what is the scale of my
Yeah.
anger. Am I just annoyed or I am super angry? So it's very important to also name it, right? Writing
Yes.
it down is like is the importance of writing it, naming it. So okay, so let's say for women that are listening to us now, and also I want you to a little bit give us information about the mother daughter um, thing that you're doing, because I find that very important. They see us, you know, like we saw our mothers and we are mirroring them. They see us. So why is it so important to for that, correlation, let's say, and how do you work with that?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. I mean, with my own daughter, who's almost 8, you know, having really open conversations, like talking about my feelings, my body, and obviously what our bodies can do, because our kids are curious, you know, even at a young age, they're like, oh, what's happening there, mummy? You know, is that hurt? Or, you know, oh, so one day when I'm growing up, I'm going to have this happen to my body. And being okay with normalizing that and not shaming it. And so I also love working with girls in that pre-adolescent, that pre-teen phase. And last year I had circles of girls that came in to, you know, talk about these issues, to talk about these rites of passage in a way that celebrates our bodies changing. And there are many beautiful cultures that celebrate, you know, your menarche or menarche, and that's the first period. You know, this is the first rite of passage where we go from girl to woman. And it's beautiful that, you know, now lots more people are celebrating this. But I know when I was growing up, and I still see this in young teens, it's still shamed. You know, when it happened to me, I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't want to tell my mum because I thought that was, and then she didn't want to ask me, we just didn't communicate about it. And it was just like, oh, okay, you're a woman now. And there was these parts of these big shame pieces that came up. And I still see young girls like, in that 12, 13, 14 age bracket that, shun themselves or each other or have that embarrassment where it's like, oh no, I've bled through my dress. Oh gosh, no one can see it. Or other people, even in co-ed schools, like boys making fun of that. And that's not okay because, they have mothers or sisters or aunties and grandmas too. This culture of shame and embarrassment is something that, I have a passion for breaking. And so in working with young girls and also mums to help be the leaders and to have this open communication and to celebrate that part of our bodies and our emotions, and also understanding our adrenaline and our bodily systems, because at that teenage age that, when you're 8 years old, your adrenochrome, your adrenaline kicks in. Not adrenochrome, but the adrenaline parts of your body start to activate. So of course, the adrenaline and all of those parts of your kidneys and those systems and your emotions start becoming active. And when you're that 11, 12, 13, that the menarche process comes in. So your womb is preparing to shed. The womb and the body and our breasts and everything is preparing to, for that next level. Whether we're going to be birthing babies or ideas, but we're coming into womanhood and our body and our whole system is changing. Our nervous system is changing, so being able to understand and talk about that with our daughters and with girls, talking about it safely with girls is another beautiful step. And I love talking about this with young women. And even when they're older, when they're 16, 17, and we're talking about sex and pleasure and having safe relationships and consent, like that is also really powerful because at that age, they are ready. They're probably, so many young girls and boys are very sexually active. So who's having these conversations to say your body is sacred? If you're going to go into that intimacy, you can say no, and it needs to be something that both parties agree to it with respect. Whether or not 16 or 7-year-olds want to marry that person or not, a lot of them are experimenting with their bodies and their feelings. So who is having these conversations with that safety and that mentorship? Because that's what I want to do more of.
That's amazing. And it's absolutely needed because I worked a lot with teenagers as well, as I started as a child coach in the early years of my coaching career. So I have seen that they have so many questions that nobody's there to answer. And it reminds me of myself as well. When I was at that age, I remember that I was stealing my mom's pads to check how they are. And I was wrapping it into paper to throw it into the bin because I didn't want them to see that I was experimenting with that. And sometimes I tell them, if we were not in this age that we're wearing clothes and we were still in the caves, when you're becoming a woman and a man, then it is meant to come together, right? So they're shaming so much such a natural thing instead of sitting and having these discussions that you're talking about, that it is normal to be sexual. It is normal, and you just have to take care of yourself. You cannot avoid it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so it's I love it. I think it's very, very needed, and it's you're a miracle to this world and for women, because when you hear it and you understand that it's fine, it's okay. Somebody else is giving you the go ahead. It's fine to have your period, to become a woman. Then you're shedding this shame that they are giving us, because even if your parents don't, there's a lot going around, a lot of things going around us, right? Like the school. Amazing, amazing. So, what would you like to share with the ladies watching us? Like, you can share an exercise. I mean, you have given us the burning and the stillness, but what would you like to share?
I was talking about like the breath work and the safety in the body, and something really simple, practical we can do right now together actually is just a really simple breath work practice. And I use this with kids and teenagers and adults as well. But something to notice, like even us speaking now, having the confidence to speak either on screen or in your workplace or to your partner about something, having the courage to calm your nervous system and to have those heightened conversations that happen with your parents or with your loved ones, with your children, and to regulate your body when arguments are happening or tantrums are happening. Coming back to your breath is really important. So I invite you to just place a hand on your belly. And when we breathe in, we want our belly to like rise like a balloon. So breathing in through your nose, belly rise. And when you're exhaling, either through your nose or your mouth, feel your belly button go to your spine. And so breathing in again, feeling your belly rise and your diaphragm expand, and exhaling. And just keeping your hand there. It's important to note most of us breathe very shallow breaths, and most of us will breathe through our chest, which therefore means our body has to work harder to get the oxygen to our body. So therefore, when we get anxious and we get the flutters and most of us are up here. So when we learn to breathe down into our diaphragm and into our belly, it allows the expansion in our lungs to capture all the oxygen. And this effect is called the Bohr effect, when we can breathe in and out and allow that, to expand. And when we breathe in, we can hold our breath. And in that holding the breath, this is where the Bohr effect happens. So when we breathe in, we can breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And you can repeat that as many times as you like. So breathing in, belly rise, hold, exhale out, and hold. And we'll do one more. Breathing in, hold, exhale, hold, and we can relax there. And that box breath technique, what happens when we hold our breath, and we can hold our breath longer. The longest breath hold on record, I believe, is I think 26 minutes underwater.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
because the body breathes itself when you can build that capacity up. So when we hold the breath, the carbon dioxide fills, and this is the Bohr effect that I mentioned. So the carbon dioxide fills in your body, and the oxygen that's on your blood cells, on your hemoglobin, the carbon dioxide then allows it to release. So then it can go to the cells and the muscles and wherever it needs to. So when you do breath work practices for yourself, obviously with safety around, being able to sustain and hold your breath for longer periods of time allows that carbon dioxide to build in your body. And then when it releases, a lot of transformation happens in that really dynamic, expansive release of oxygen when you come back to that breath. So when people do a lot of holotropic breath or open mouth breathing, you're over oxygenating your body. So if you are doing these practices, you obviously need to be mindful, if you experience epilepsy, if you have high blood pressure, and obviously speak to your doctor before commencing other breathwork practices. But even that simple box breath is very simple that you can do at home, and to relax your body, to allow the prefrontal cortex, the brain, to come back out of the emotional and the reptilian part of our brain, the amygdala, to come back into the logic, into the prefrontal cortex, to then make more rational decisions.
Hmm.
And
Even in the
so,
workplace, it's needed. Like sometimes they ask me, what can I do when, I'm scared? Like they discuss, but, they get scared. And it's so important to have these tools because you can do it right there, right?
yeah,
Just
yeah,
get some space to do it. And it helps the nervous system to center, right?
yeah. And the nervous system, if we think about, we've got a sympathetic nervous system, which is very active, and your parasympathetic nervous system. So our parasympathetic nervous system is our wandering nerve. So behind our ears, we have this beautiful nerve that touches every single organ in our body, even down to our pleasure centers, every organ. So when we can calm our nervous system and get into our parasympathetic through the breath, then there's an immediate impact and effect that can allow your whole body, your organs, your systems to just calm and regulate. And even just like, you don't have to hold your breath, but even exhaling out longer and slower, even if that's for 1 breath or 3 breaths, that will have an immediate response to tell your parasympathetic nervous system to calm your body. So even if you breathe in for 4 and out for 6, in for 4, out for 6. Already you're feeling your body just has a natural response to calm. And so, yeah, it's another little tidbit, holding your breath for a short amount of time helps, but also being able to exhale out longer.
Great. Thank you for the insights and the simple tips, because sometimes, we get to think that, it's going to be very difficult to do that and I cannot do it, but it's so easy to start, right? You don't have to go to 26 minutes straight away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You don't have to go to a breath work session, but it's nice to go. But even, that every day when we're busy mums or busy women at work and we're feeling the stress, to just take 5 minutes, to just calm your body. Take 3 deep breaths, long exhale. Notice your belly. Don't breathe from the top of your chest here. Allow the oxygen to go deeper for your body to actually relax. So, yeah.
Perfect. Marie, thank you so much. How can they get in contact with you?
Oh, beautiful. Well, you can find me on Facebook under Marie Ferguson. And I'm also on Instagram under Marie, Marie _N, ANN _Ferguson. And I'm also on TikTok as well, doing some dancing and breath work. So you can find me on the socials. So I'm happy to connect and share more with you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being here. And we will surely meet again.
Well, thank you.